Why do CPAs not do tax planning? Well, we're going to educate you today of why that's the case. I know it may be frustrating knowing that your CPA is filing your tax at the end of the year, but why are they not doing anything during the year to ensure that you're paying the least amount of taxes? I know it's frustrating, but I'm going to defend the CPA today, but I'm also going to help you understand of how to make sure you've got a comprehensive plan with all the right team in place to pay the least amount of taxes over time.
Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows the market.
Joe knows Social Security.
Joe knows income planning.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
So let me start today's episode with a story. So we had a client, they're now a client of ours. They were at a workshop we were doing here in Columbus, Ohio, and they asked a question at the beginning, and they were trying to sound really smart because they were a CPA, and they're like, yeah, I know everything you're going to talk about. And I said, oh, okay. And so, me, I've got a little sense of humor, so I like to challenge people. And so during the workshop, I'm just sitting there and I'm asking him all these questions, and he sure does not know any of them. And I'm going, oh, Mr. CPA, I thought you knew these answers. Don't you file taxes? Don't you do tax planning? And the reality is he only did tax prep. And so we're going to talk about the difference today between tax prep and tax planning and why CPAs don't do this type of planning. Now, the good news, with that story is he actually did become a client. He got over his ego there and understood that he truly needed help on this side of things. He had the tax prep figured out. That's great. But there's another side of the story that there is there. And so that's what we're here to help you with. And again, we get a question a lot of like, why does a CPA not do tax planning? And the reason why is because they look backwards. Tax planning means looking forwards. And so tax planning is going to require, 20 plus hours every year just to ensure you're making the right decisions and looking at all the different strategies out there. With tax prep, that really only takes like an hour or two because all you're doing is taking tax forms and you're inputting them into a system in order to tell you how much tax you pay. There's no strategy necessarily. There may be one or two small strategies that you can do like fund an IRA or fund a Roth, but even CPAs typically don't even advise that far. And so you really want to make sure you're understanding that they're just two different things. And you can't really expect a CPA to do this type of work. This is where I'm going to defend the CPA because, like we have a CPA that works with our clients. He charges them like $180 a return. Now, would you really expect him to do 20 hours of work for a $180 return? I know that I wouldn't because he would not be in business. He'd be doing pro bono and he would not have a successful business. But he's got a very successful business because he's really good at hearing us out and collaborating with us and us telling him, hey, here's the things that we need done for our clients. Here's a list of things. Here's the tax documents. And if you have questions, give us a call. And so it's really efficient when done that way. And that's why it's important to have a team that collaborates with your CPA. If your CPA is acting in this realm and your financial planner is acting in this realm and they're not talking, they're not working together, you're probably going to miss some things. And so that's why it's a value of ours to ensure we're communicating with our client CPA as needed. And so that's what we'd recommend you work with a team who is going to do that for you. So again, proactive versus reactive is the biggest thing here. Are there CPAs who do both? Absolutely, but you're just going to have to pay a much higher amount. And ultimately, I just don't think they really necessarily want to do that work because they're more skilled in the tax prep side of things versus the tax planning. And you're really going to want to look for a financial planning team that specializes in tax planning because understand as well, not all financial planners do tax planning. And I actually did another episode on this that you can go back and listen to of why financial planners don't talk taxes. And there's many reasons why, but you just have to understand that there's investment managers and there's comprehensive financial planners. You need to work with a team that's going to do this, the comprehensive planning, versus just investment management. Because most times, if both firms charge the same fee and they do the same type of investment management, it's just the fact that you're going to get more services for what you're paying. And in my mind, I believe that's the right way of financial planning. And that's something that is very passionate to me. I speak in front of a lot of financial planners and trying to educate our community on, hey, here's how we should best serve clients to make sure they're getting what they want. So I'm a huge advocate of that because I don't feel like in our industry, the clientele is getting served in the best way all the time. We have to act in their best interest. This is their life savings that they've worked so hard for, and we need to make sure that they're valuing that and they're doing the right thing. So sorry for my little rant there, but I just want to express the importance of this type of planning and finding the right trusted guide to serve you ongoing. And so the other reason why CPAs don't do tax planning is because most of them don't take the time to understand your full situation, right? I mean, think about it. The 20 plus hours to build a tax plan, part of that 20 plus hours is really getting an idea of where you sit right now and what your goals are. For example, your CPA is not asking you, hey, where do you want to leave this money when you pass away? Or they're not asking you, hey, how much do you plan to take out in 10 years? They're just looking at it from a micro lens of that year and what happened in that past year. And so if you're not asking those types of questions, that can change. For example, if you say you want to leave all your money to a charity, that's going to change our tax planning versus if you say I want to leave all my money to my kids. Or it's going to change if you say, I want to spend all my money right now. And so you can see with those 3 different examples, that's going to require 3 different sets of tax plans. And so that's why it's important to work with someone who's understanding your situation versus just looking at the numbers and looking at the forms you give them and that's it. If you're not having detailed conversations with this person, you're not going to get the exact plan that you're looking for. It's just going to be a cookie cutter plan that is probably going to miss things. And then the more money you have, the more advanced your case is going to be. And that's where, it just gets more and more important there. And so what I'd really recommend is you work with that team, right? Work with a team who's going to collaborate with the CPA so that, the CPA, if they're not going to understand the situation, totally fine, but work with a financial planning team that is going to understand your situation so then you can have the tax prep, you can have the tax planning, and you have those things connected is ultimately the idea. And so that's kind of the idea of this, of why CPAs do not talk tax planning. I also don't think many of them are educated to talk about tax planning. I know there's CPAs out there that I've seen where they always reach out to us for a couple of reasons. One is they want to utilize our tax planning software that we have, which does a really good job of figuring out how much to Roth convert, what's the optimal amount to Roth convert, what's the total tax savings that you can have by looking at specific things. We have an RMD calculator. There's all these tools that we have that CPAs actually reach out to us to be able to utilize because of how robust our platform is. But also, I don't necessarily think that most financial planners or most CPAs, are really doing the education on this side of thing. I mean, I had a CPA ask me one time, what's a backdoor Roth IRA? This was a CPA that was working with one of our clients. They were longtime clients of them, and we told them, hey, we're going to do a backdoor Roth IRA this year. And they're like, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, that is common language that every CPA should know. And so if they're not sharpening their tool belt, their toolbox, and they're not looking and seeing what's out there, what other opportunities are you missing, basically, right? And so that's why I just think you got to be very careful. I'm not saying CPAs are bad, right? If you're paying them $180 a return, they shouldn't have to do all that work. You're paying them a very low cost to do the job, which is definitely important, but it's just not going to help you save any money. So you need to do it. No one wants to go to jail for not filing taxes, but would you rather pay more taxes or less taxes? And we get a lot of people that come to us and just say, man, I just feel like I'm overspending on taxes, and I just feel like over retirement, I'm going to just keep overpaying in taxes. And so if that's you, schedule a time with our team. We'll make sure that we can help you set a plan and set up for success so you're not paying more in taxes. You can actually look in the description below and book a time there. Or if you're listening to this on our podcast, then you can just go to peakretirementplanning.com and apply for a session there. We'll be sure to take a look at your situation, make sure you've got the right positioning there. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Reminder for you to go back and watch my other video on why financial planners do not talk tax planning. So enjoy this one, get going on your planning, and live the retirement that you deserve and have worked so hard for. We'll see you on the next one.
Since we do not know your specific situation, none of this information can serve as tax, legal, insurance, or financial advice and may be outdated or inaccurate. The information comes from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed. This content is prepared for educational purposes only. If you need advice, please contact a qualified CPA, attorney, insurance agent, financial advisor, or the appropriate professional for the subject you would like help with. Peak Retirement Planning, Inc. is an Ohio-based registered investment advisor and able to offer advisory services in Ohio and in other states where registered or exempt from registration.